This is the Reef Beef podcast, voted the #1 punk rock reef podcast by Johnny Lydon. So we don't care about anything except that the people who like it, and we use bad words. So if that's not good for you or your family, you're just not punk rock enough for this show.
Welcome to Reef Beef. My name is Ben.
My name is Richard.
And today, Richard and I have several rants lined up and then some informative things from Richard about calcium reactors. But so we'll get into that. And this show is brought to you by saltwateraquarium.com, powered by PolypLab, and Champion Lighting and Supply. But more on those guys later. So anyways, what's going on, Richard? This is Reef Beef.
I like that I'm talking about being punk rock while holding our merch. I think that's the best thing ever.
We are sellouts.
Oh, this helmet makes drinking hard.
Come on, Magneto. That's a metallic straw. Just bend it to your will.
I've been thinking a lot because, I had a screwed up mental first 5 months, 6 months of this year. Lost my mojo again, but I think it's coming back. And part of that mojo is realizing my punk rock sensibilities. I wasn't really punk rock, though. I was on the new wave side, but it's really hard to tell what the difference was. Is Devo punk rock or new wave? That's a hard one, right? Yeah. I think.
Aren't they mod? Anyway,
what?
Aren't they mod?
Yeah, they were mod. Devo was totally mod. But the sensibility is the same, which is we're over to the side and we like what we like. And if you like what we like you. And if you don't like what we like, go do your own thing. We don't care. And I was getting caught up in trying to make things more than that, like
we're niche.
To fill my soul by trying to pretend I wanted us to be huge. And, I don't know if that's right. I would rather us be happy and everyone on the Discord enjoy each other, and the members side of the Discord enjoy the members. And if they have problems with each other, they could say it to each other instead of not talking. And I just want it to be, cash. I want it to be cool. And I want everyone to be hip. I want us all to be so cool that you could store a side of beef in us for a month, right? So hip that we got trouble seeing over our pelvis. So that's what I want. Which means a lot of people are not going to like it. And I'm okay with that now. I want it to be good because it's good. So I'm feeling right now, at least, pretty good about everything.
Let me ask you a question. You were, I'm asking this organically. You were really feeling anxiety about just our numbers or popularity or exposure?
Or like, it was probably all just about me. Like, who am I? What do I want? That was a big question. What do I like? For reasons we won't go into, that have to do with stuff we won't go into. I really lost myself. Over the last 5 years, I lost myself, but I lost myself again hard when I realized some stuff at the beginning of this year. And I think I'm looking at old patterns, and old patterns of mine were to reach outside of myself. I did that with juggling. I've done that with glass blowing. So that's what I know how to do, right? I did it with reef keeping, but I think those patterns were good to a certain extent and bad to another certain extent. So realizing that I was doing that with the podcast, how do we reach more people? How do we capture the information in the pub of the Discord and get that to everybody else so they can use it? That might be a worthy thing to do, but it also might be a complete waste of time. It might be a vanity project that I don't really want and that nobody else wants. Maybe, but out of all of that, what I've come to the conclusion of is the Reef Beef Discord is a pub. And if people come into the pub and they go, what the fuck? What are you guys doing? The pub should go, fuck off, go to somewhere else, right? You've come into the pub. That's what happens here, right? And I want to keep separate, if we're going to do it, information that we want for posterity, right? You don't go to a pub to, fucking study Aristotle, really. You know, it changes the pub when you do that. Then it becomes a lecture hall, and which can be fine, lectures with beer, but it's not the same thing as the moldy fuck bunker pub that we have. So we might start a forum, a very relegated, rigid form that's still fun. It's not like we all have to wear ties and shit. It's but everything is on topic, and the point of it is to be on topic.
But in the forum would be to fill our need for okay, so because the Discord is a lot about just having fun and finding our audience slowly, but
Yeah.
without anxiety, just whoever sticks. But we're filling a lot of different voids, so we do feel a need for capturing good advice and sound advice and this and that, and maybe that's what the forum is for, or other less silly conversation.
Yeah, forum is like the library, or like forum is the office you go to in the daytime. Forum is like the job, and Discord is the bar after the job. The forum are the talks at a conference, and the Discord is the lobby bar at the end of the day, right? You wouldn't do the same thing in both places because they're different places.
You know what's funny? So, and I can only speak for myself, Richard, but I know that yours and my, thoughts are often in alignment about these sort of things. But, it's sort of like my own personality outside of this, just how I move in the world, is that I'm sort of a personality where, I am who I am, and I don't do much work in changing who I am to try to please some stranger that's sort of antithetical to what I do. Now, I'm not an a-hole about it, but, I sort of do my thing. And if you don't like my thing, I'm not mad at you. But,
right,
we could either be friends or not be friends, but I don't stress. So I'm thinking, like, in the terms of Reef Beef, like, we would certainly like to have a large audience if it was there, if that's what Reef Beef ends up doing. I don't think we get the numbers that some of the top people in the industry, because, and this is not a slight to them, but a lot of those people will have a goal of just trying to capture the largest audience that's out there, period. But I just don't think, not even my personality nor your personality necessarily fits to that overreaching to be everybody's buddy or be everything to everyone. It's weird.
We want to talk about what we want to talk about, right? That's why we started it. It's like Joel from Mystery Science Theater said, we don't think who's going to get this joke. We think the right people will get this joke. And so that's what we started this for. I don't even know if it would be great if we were big or not. So it's like, we've talked about setting up like bucket tanks and, doing tests, but neither of us really wants to do that. We haven't been inspired to do that. And we're not going to do it just to make numbers, right? Or just to get clicks. That would feel disingenuous.
I want to do, let me just put it like sort of succinctly, if not, sort of Cro-Magnon, but I want to do interesting shit. I don't want to do stupid shit.
Yeah, you want to, well, we need to do stuff that actually captures our attention. We can't try to get stuff to capture our attention. Right?
Yeah.
And maybe the forum idea doesn't make sense. Maybe the reality is that the Discord, like all attempts at capturing the information, are ethereal, and we should ignore them. We should just be talking to each other whenever we can, in the pub, outside of the pub, on the phone, whatever. Talk to other reefers however you can, and not try to like lay down some kind of legacy. I don't think.
But Richard, let me push back on that, because I do see, we've already been hacking away at this Discord. Are we coming up on a year or something like this?
7 years.
18 years, the man says. So, but we've been hacking away at it. We have millions of conversations, and, conversations in Discord are basically like real ethereal, because it's not a great function to well, I take that back, because some of our members are more slick at Discord than I am. and they just, put in the keywords and they can bring up old conversations. So that's not entirely true. But, it is like a conversation in a bar where it's not like anyone, but I do see a need to, when someone's like, oh, what was that thing that you used or that way that you did this? And then we're all like sifting through it. And it's like, we need a better way to.
I think people do that different ways. I've started keeping some things that I thought were exciting, and some other people take screenshots, and somebody's doing a project where they're actually indexing our episodes, So I think that's great, but I'm wondering, as I'm thinking more, what's just wrong with I don't want it to turn into, oh, we'll do a search. It's like the information changes a little bit. So it's nice to have a search for people who want to do searches. And I hope that's everybody, because if you're just asking because you're lazy, I mean, that's okay too. But, you might not get the answer you want or right away. But
due diligence is nice.
The stuff changes over time. So, is it the worst thing to have the same conversation? Is it the worst thing to have the same conversation over and over again? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
However it works, we'll find out what we do. And I want to enjoy it all more as my brain comes back to me.
Little pause. Baba Booey.
Richard,
Benjamin.
saltwateraquarium.com is the place to go if you need saltwater aquarium items. And honestly, even if you need freshwater stuff, I'm sure they have stuff for that too. But
freshwateraquarium.com.
Yeah, they have stuff for that too. They have whatever. They even have animals, ocean
Saltwater.
reefs and aquarium stuff.
Yep. They've got a nice app that is loading now on the screen. You can see what they have for sale recently, what they're trying to get you to buy on the splash screen, which is actually kind of, what they think people normally buy. They take any kind of money at all: Amazon Pay, Visa, GPay, Pay Credit. I don't know what the hell that is. Apple Pay. I'm sure you could just sell them your cat. You could send them cats, and they would send you products.
Yeah, they accept cats as barter.
They have great discounts for veterans or for first responders. They have 3 distribution centers. So when I order something, it's usually I order it like by 11 in the morning, and it's out in the mail to me by about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you need something fast and don't want to pay extra shipping, it's probably going to get to you anyway. What else, Ben? What do you like about them?
They have lots of online, they don't just sell products, they have information about the product. So online, you go on their website and they have blogs and articles written, and they're a great source of knowledge. If you're not sure what piece of equipment to get or which one to get, they'll help you with that.
Yeah. And they've been a supporter of the show since the beginning. And we've also been a supporter of them since before the show. They're great. They're kind of a large, small company. And, check them out. If you need stuff, go there, text them. If you order stuff from them and you write weird stuff in the memo about reef beef, sometimes they send those to us, and that makes us laugh a whole lot. So see if you can do that. If
make it weird.
If you want to make it weird, you should make it weird. So check them out, saltwateraquarium.com.
Little pause. Baba Booey.
And we were talking about being inspired. I got inspired yesterday and did a whole bunch of crap around the tanks.
Oh, cool.
And are we ready? You want to hear about that now? Or
yeah, what caused the inspiration?
I just was inspired. There was no cause.
Oh, you're just like,
I just went, oh, I want to do some stuff now. I mean,
that's good.
I've been thinking about some tank stuff because I'm going on vacation on the 22nd of August. So I want to get stuff done. But yesterday was like, oh, I left the house to go buy some stuff. And
yeah.
So the first thing I did was I installed a Wi-Fi auto feeder in the frag tank under the house. And then I went through and I changed all my dose heads that needed to be changed. And that's how I found one that was actually half clogged or more. Like, wow. It couldn't pump water through it. And that made me look at my RO tubing, and I went, and now I've liked using clear RO tubing on the dose on the peristaltic pumps because you can visualize the water moving.
Yeah.
right? That's nice. But if you put those, and we'll put a picture of it here because I've got a picture of it. If you put the clear tubing where it's getting a lot of light, what happens
yeah.
inside the tubing?
Algae and gunk biofilm. Yeah.
Right. So that what was happening, and you could totally see it. So I went through any RO tubing that was exposed to light, and I clipped off and put solid RO tubing, because I'm not going to clean my tubes or change them once in a, often enough.
Are these automatic water change tubes?
Yeah, mostly. The
So I
caulk.
could,
the
yeah, I
caulk-
could.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just saying I could totally see if, it's tank water, how that grows gunk.
Absolutely. The caulk tube, totally clean. Right. But everything else, I mean, you still got to worry about biofilm building up in there, but adding the algae, I think, is a mistake. So I did all that, right? So that was great. I feel good. I had a new dose head that also wasn't pulling water. So you know what I did? I pulled it off and used a different one, because fuck it. Why are you bothering with something that don't work?
Yeah.
So that's all done. That's good. I also then went to tap plastics for 2 projects. My effluent drip of my calcium reactor has been in this kludgy thing that I threw together a million years ago. It's like a PVC pipe that the pH probe goes in, and the effluent drips, and then it drips all the way down through a bunch of crushed coral. And it was all hokey, and it was, sitting in the back of my head all the time going, this is something that needs to be upgraded.
But it's worked.
It has worked, but it's hard to see on the video camera. It's hard for people to, when Patrick Carter is here taking care of the tank, it's hard for him to know what the hell that thing is, because it can be hard to visualize. So I changed it, and we'll put a little video of that up here. Now I glued 2 little plastic chambers together and drilled holes in the top for the effluent line and the pH probe. And now those work as settling chambers. And then that drains into a hang-on tank specimen container that then is filled with crushed coral. So the effluent goes through the crushed coral, and then it goes back into the sump.
Okay.
So it looks all mad science. We'll put the video up here. Or maybe I should show you that video. Should I show you that? No, screw you. You'll have to react to it on your own time.
Let me ask you, I love specimen containers, like Lee's, I think, is the people.
It's a Lee's one.
But did you do something where it drips on this end and then it exits out the other end or something like this?
I'm going to show you because this is dumb. Okay.
Those are your 1/4-inch tubes, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, can you see the cursor that I'm moving?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can see it's clear here, and it's just gooey, right? I could still blow through them, but ew, right?
Yeah.
And then I built, here's the calcium reactor thing. Let's see.
Oh man, you put this in Discord and I didn't even see it. Oh, it's like a multi-stage situation.
Hold on. You see how this works? So the effluent comes in on the left side here, drips in. The calcium reactor sits there. Both of these 2, then it flows into this bigger chamber.
Yeah.
Both of these are settling chamber for all the fines, right?
Okay, yeah.
And then it flows here, and I'll let the video go.
And it's good coarse material.
Yep. And then I should get a view from above a little bit more so you can see how it goes into the sump.
Man, not for nothing, but that's 1,000 times better than where it used to be.
Isn't it?
Yep.
Isn't it?
Because you can see if the water's dripping in there or not. You can see if the water is up there with the pH probe.
Right.
You can see, in the other container, and then you can see it dripping out of that John Guest into the coral pieces.
Yeah, and no matter what happens, it's going to end up in the tank.
Yeah.
In the sump. So it can't fall over like the old thing could, and it's really easy to visualize on the camera. And you can see there, I put see it. I'm not panning down enough, but you can see that RO line drips out too.
I dig it. Can you dig it?
Can you dig it? So there you can kind of see what's going on there.
Yeah, that's many, many times over.
Yeah. So
but do you see that chunk of live rock sitting on top of the sump there?
Yeah.
You gotta get rid of that, bro.
You know what that was? That was holding the old effluent system up.
So
Okay.
Still.
And I got one more thing that I did. I used to use a bucket to clean my wave pumps, and I would bring a ladder into the room and move the ladder around. So because
Oh, I
the
see.
cords were long. So I just made a big specimen container.
Well, you're not running muriatic in that, are you?
No, that's citric acid in that.
Okay, safer.
And it hangs on the side of the tank, and I drop a wave pump in there, and I can move it from tank to tank, and it makes it very, very simple to clean all my wave pumps.
Okay, and then so because the other thing, because I do a similar thing, but I do like the bucket thing, but sometimes I'm like dope because the way I've made the pump, the cord doesn't go that
Exactly.
far down. So that is like you just pull it off, clean it, throw it back into service.
Right. And then I move it to the next tank, and we're good to go.
Much better.
I showed that to Terrence Fugazi, and he was like, "Oh my God, why didn't we think of that before?" And it was like, yeah, I don't know why we didn't think of it before. It's like all these ideas, it's like a mind story. You do it the way you do it until you think of a different way you do it.
Yeah, totally.
So that was my yesterday. I did a whole lot of crap around here, and I feel like my life is better for it.
So Richard, I want to. Good job.
Thank you, baby. There, now I've blown my wad for 6 months. I won't ever do anything interesting.
Yeah.
Little pause. Baba Booey.
PolypLab.
Polyp-
PolypLab. PolypLab. Powered by PolypLab. Come on, we all know the song. We all grew up with that song on Sunday mornings at church.
And Dead Kennedys covered it. PolypLab.
PolypLab.
Today on PolypLab Reef Beef, we're talking about the Genesis block. Now, it's interesting. It's a biomedia. It's heavier and it's thicker than some of the other ones on the market.
It's not brittle and crumbly.
Right. And it's rated, I forget what it's rated for, but it's rated for a bunch. You can look that up.
It's rated R.
What I think about these things is that I think for biological action, for denitrification, locality matters, right? So you want your bacteria to be where the stuff breaking down is. And that's not necessarily your sump, especially like behind me, you can see the lab tanks. There's not a lot of water flowing through there to the sump. There's not a ton of turnover. And I was having some issues with some nitrates, and I added a bunch of these into each of those tanks. So basically each one of them has their own biological filtration, and they're small, and you can make little fish houses out of them, which is kind of fun. So I like these PolypLab Genesis blocks.
Hey, you know what I've done with them? So I will put them in a sump right by, I have, this is what I do. I have 4 of them in a customer's sump in a saltwater tank by where the water comes in at, and I don't have a big filter sock. But anytime I'm setting up a new client tank, I'll go get them from his tank and I'll put them in that tank for a while, sort of jumpstart the process. And maybe a month or 2 months later, I bring them back to, to that client's tank. It seems to help me.
That's a great way for inoculation, especially because they're small. I mean, this is easy. You could grab 4 of them, move them over to a different tank for a new tank, and then move them back. If you have them in a place that gets sunlight, they'll also get coralline algae on them. And then when you go to the new tank, you can scrape that off. So you've just now inoculated the tank with coralline as well. So PolypLab Genesis blocks, Ben and I like
PolypLab, PolypLab, boom, boom, boom.
Little pause. Baba Booey.
Hey, Richard, I have something to sort of beef about.
Beef, baby.
But, well, I shouldn't preface this too much, but it's just a long, if you're in the industry, like on my side of the industry, where you're a maintainer or a seller, a salesman, or own a store or any of that, it's just a long beef that we've always had. And I still hear it every day. So I own a maintenance company in Houston, Texas. And, and I talk to all my clients every day. Sometimes I get new clients, or I get temporary clients, or whatever. I'm just talking to people all the time. And my clientele that I normally keep or I mean, by design, they're not people who are necessarily hobbyists, because I'm the one cleaning the tank. But, I get people all the time that will be like, oh, I went to this store and that guy is just charging way too much, or people are charging so much for fish. Now, the complaint that I have is because I've devoted my life to this industry. I've been doing it since I was basically 16 years old. And I mean, so this is going to sound like one of these like inner industry beefs where it's like wah, wah. And if you're outside of it, it might not make as much sense. But I would just like you to entertain this about, cheap fish, cheap corals. The problem I have is that what did people think we're like laughing to the bank with like, suitcases full of cash. But when you're in this business, we're dealing with, fragile animals and fragile fish, fragile corals. And as much money as we sell something for and take to the bank, there's a fair amount of loss. I don't care who you are. There's loss involved in it. And just that anytime where I hear that complaint of the fish are too expensive, I know I'm always talking to someone who has never been on this side of the counter as I am, because to understand what you go through, if someone says, hey, can you get me a flame hawk? So until I order this flame hawk off of the back of a, at least $500 order, but hopefully $1,000 or more order to make everything make more financial sense because of the shipping, and then get stuff in, you lose some stuff in shipping, some DOA, dead on arrival, you bring stuff in and you spread it out through whatever tanks you have, sort of damage control if something is sick or whatever. And, all this heartache and, and then you finally get around to having something, whether it's in quarantine or observation, and then you bring something to someone, and let me go into specific what happened. One of my clients called me, and this is not, I want to preface this with, this is no dig on my client at all. The scenario I think is very interesting.
Change the name of the animal.
Okay. My client just said, hey, I want a large fish. And this is one of these clients that knows a little bit about, enough about fish to know what things are. Hey, I want a large, a large fox face. That's not what it's going to be, but I want a large fox face, a large fox face. So I look it up on my wholesale thing, and I think we all have maybe a little bit different, but I have a certain like algorithm or whatever of what I charge. And so I look it up and I'm like, okay, really for me to bring in this huge fox face and keep it for almost about a month, make sure it's fat and eating, no disease. And, after 3 to 4 weeks, I'm comfortable with bringing it to your house, it's going to be $500. And so he knew enough to take the name and Google it. And so he brought up liveaquaria.com, which has changed hands at this point now a couple times. And it's nothing against the company, but I believe that some people, like a company in Sri Lanka or somewhere that owns them now, or Malaysia. It's not Kevin Cohen anymore, but they advertise prices of this fish. Now I'm just a tiny company, but he said, well, look at this on Live Aquaria. I could get one of those for half of what you just told me. So, I look at his link and this fox face is on there, at $250. And I was looking at my wholesale price, and like Live Aquaria has this thing listed to what my wholesale was. And so, I get flustered, but professionalism, you don't get flustered at a client, and he asked me a totally valid question. So I counted to 10 a little bit because, it's like, as long as I've been in the industry, you're always like fighting for why you're trying to make more on something. Because the frustration that you go through is like, dude, I'm not going to go through this heartache and possible loss of life and possible loss of money, loss of my time, all this stuff for $20, for $10. If that's the case. So what I ended up telling the client after I collected my bearings for just a few minutes, and I said, hey, that's a very valid point that you just made. But here's the thing. They're selling that for very cheap. And don't forget, you're going to pay like a flat shipping. So you're just going to pay that shipping on there. So it's not what you're seeing, that number right there. It's that number plus the shipping. Okay. And then second of all, you're probably going to have to get off work. and this was a client, that owns an expensive company and has, billable time that's very expensive. You're going to have to excuse yourself from work that day, come home and acclimate the fish. On top of that, you have no observation tanks at your house. So that means you're going to receive this fish, throw it right in your tank. I don't want you to do that, because we have carefully, over the course of a year and a half, selected all these fish. And I've done a great job of keeping all the stuff alive, no disease. We're building up on this collection. Then you could possibly introduce, velvet, ick, crypt, whatever, and bomb the tank out. And I just don't think. And so I carefully explained all that. And thankfully, he rationally came back. He was like, I was just asking. And he's like, I know you've got to make your money too. And I think all that is worth, what you said. So he's like, I'll leave you alone on that. And I was not every client is necessarily like that. Like, oh, I can get these for cheaper, blah, 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 blah. And I guess from this side in the industry, it's like, you didn't even know what it was. You didn't even know where it came from. You have zero capacity to house it and observe it before you move it into your main display. Certainly all that is worth some money. Now, I think most of the people viewing this are consumers of the hobby. Whereas I guess like I'm a producer or a service provider. Provider. Yeah.
End user versus service provider. I like that.
Yeah. And so it's always, ever since I've been in this industry, it's always been there. Wherever you're at, clients like, hey, you guys have yellow tanks. Oh, this is back when you could get yellow tanks that weren't captive bred and all that. Hey, you got yellow tanks for $50, man. They have them down the street for $20. And it's funny because what the end user don't realize is you've been told this like 4 times that day. And you have to remember, it's like, I need to be professional. I need to not fly off at the handle. This person doesn't know that I've been told that 4 times this day. I have to calmly and rationally explain it, do a good job of justifying to the person why I'm asking for more money for an item, because I say, and you want to go into a store and like bring someone down, sort of like, bargain with them and bring them down to a lower price. And you might have a store that's comfortable doing that. That's fine. Everyone makes their own call on that. But again, I just tell the watcher, the listener of this, is that there's not very many people in this industry that are like laughing to the bank with suitcases full of cash. There's a good handful of very successful companies out there, and we're all trying to, in some way, shape, or form, like trying to be them or be like them, or try to figure out how to get up that high up the pyramid. But this is very much a labor of love. And I think I guess I implore, or I beseech, or whatever, I ask the listener or watcher of this, is that when you're out there looking for animals, for corals, for fish, whatever, first and foremost, it's a source or an individual salesperson or a company that you trust and you've been doing business with. Look, I trust the store. They've been good to me. They're very knowledgeable. They help me without being grumpy about it, all this sort of stuff. So first of all, trust that source, and let them also make their money, because maybe you think that you could get that for $20 or $30 for cheaper from some store that just got something in, is going to turn and burn it, and the people don't give you good advice or never gave you advice or anything like that. I just ask, is that all you're interested in? Is that cheaper animal when you could possibly be getting a better animal, and also supporting someone that is really trying to be the good person? They say that good people finish last. If like myself in my business, I try super hard to be ethical, to be moral, and to be like the good person, and I will continue to do that no matter how much you harass me on it, just because that's my comfort zone. And I'm just asking for people to support people like that, because if you don't support people like that, all you have are the garbage stores that you just get sick and diseased animals, but by God, you got it for $20 cheaper. I mean, is that, the buying choices, is this coherent? Have I wandered off the reservation?
I think it's coherent. I totally understand it because I've experienced it from several different angles. It's like, if you need to have a tooth pulled, you're going to go to the dentist who is certified, or you're going to go to your buddy's garage who's got a pair of pliers, because he'll do it for $20 rather than $400. It's like, well, but when you get anesthesia and you get things clean and you get people who know what to do if a problem happens, right? So you get all kinds of benefits by going to somebody who actually knows what they're doing versus your buddy with a pair of pliers. Now, you might choose the buddy with a pair of pliers, but if your buddy pulls the wrong tooth out, you ain't got no recourse. So it's the same thing for the stores that try to sell QT animals. It's, why should I buy it from you when for $400 when they've got it for $80? It's the same thing, at high tide, the same kind of problem. It's how do you convince people that it's worth it? Or it's the same thing with bag lot sales, right? We got a store in San Francisco that notoriously does bag lot sales from Transshipped, and so yeah, you could get your Coral Beauty for $35, but you're gonna have to buy, you are likely gonna have to buy 5 of them till you get one that survives, and that's just not good for anybody.
I wonder, I would suspect that most listeners and viewers do know, but there might be some people out there that might not realize the difference between a transshipped fish in a bag and something that has been sitting at the store for a week or 2. There is a massive difference between buying those and bringing those home. There's a massive in where, we all have different methods, but, as far as like acclimation of something that's been at a store that's 15 minutes from your house, there's not much acclimation there.
Right. You drive it home, you dump it in, you're good, because this fish didn't, unless you drive like Ben, there's no, this fish is not stressed. You drive slowly home, you put the fish in a bucket in your car and you cover that with the towel so it's dark, and you bring it home and you treat them well. And, it's a seamless, usually very easy transition.
Transshipped fish, you need to know something about chemistry, and because that's not a cut and dump situation.
Yeah. And also, it's not just that the fish was put in a bag, 37 hours ago and arrived, at the airport. You have no idea what that fish has been through before it got put in the bag. You're taking a real risk. So is this grumpiness that you just wish people would understand this more? That's what you're getting at?
Yeah. On the consumer side, I would wish, and see, that's why I'm talking like this, because I've had this conversation with myself and with people for 25 years. This issue is not going anywhere. It's not necessarily going to get better, especially because the turnover rate of people. So it's like new people all the time that I wish would like sort of at least entertain this in a certain light. But just understand, like, because that store is charging $20, $30. Let them give them the chance to explain to you why that you should buy that fish there. And if they can do that in a humble manner, in a manner that makes sense, and you can justify it in your head, you might be getting a better animal, and supporting a better system.
Little pause. Baba Booey.
Champion Lighting and Supply. They're your friends. They will supply you with Champion Lighting and Supply.
Now, Champion Lighting and Supply was owned by a guy named Perry for a long time, who is no longer with us, and we didn't know what was going to happen to Champion Lighting. This is before they became sponsors here. And then Todd and his partner bought Champion Lighting and Supply and breathed new life into it, which is really exciting. And I'm still excited about what I talked about on the last show, which is the Reef Factory TDS meter. that they sent me. And here's the readout from my TDS meter. I changed my DI resin last week. It's still reading 0. It matches up with my old TDS reader as well. And I think if I click on history, yeah, there we go. It'll show you the spikes where it was.
Nice.
So you can see that it spiked up when I added it, and then it dropped back down as the new water got in there. And boy, it's been all good since. So I'm really excited about this. And it plugs in, man. You know, the one that you got to press the button on, and then the battery runs out eventually, and what you end up doing is just throwing it away because you buy a new one.
One, like each one of them have like different size watch batteries, and that's sort of annoying.
So I love it. Plugs in. It's always there. It's always on. And when I go down there, it's always reading, so I can just look at it in my quick assessment. Champion Lighting and Supply, Reef Factory. We dig them. Take us out, Ben, with your song of joy.
Champion Lighting and Supply, they bring you joy when you order from them. Da-da.
Little pause. Baba-booey.
Now this might be weird. I have a message to my people on this side of the counter, the producers, the salespeople, and the maintainers, all this stuff. Don't be snooty or arrogant or fly off of the handle when this conversation comes up to someone, you know, when someone comes in the store, because I feel like if you can calmly, rationally explain, justify, and anything you're telling them is the total truth. Hey, when we bring fish in, you know, we keep them in the back for at least a week to 2 weeks, and we only bring things out up front, you know, that we're comfortable with. We also feed them frozen foods. We fatten them up a little bit, so it costs us a little more on the maintenance of it, you know, and we have certain protocols where we're doing that. And, you know, we feel we give good advice and good information. And so, you know, that's how we justify charging a higher price. Now that's up to you, whether, you know, that makes sense to you or not, you know, saying something like that. And not, I feel like if you get like an arrogant attitude or, you know, just, hey, but that other store sucks, man. We'll go ahead and get that $20 Tang, whatever. We'll be over here. So if you talk like that, that's not going to get you, you know, the reputation you're looking for.
Yeah. Don't tear anybody else down. We're all in this. We're all going for the same direction.
I mean, and that's the thing that like, I don't talk about the other competitors and this or that, because, you know, you could see for your own eyes. And you can make a decision, and our decisions might not even be the same. So I just do what I do, and you can make decisions about how I stack up against other people in your own head. I don't even want to talk about it.
I got a couple thoughts. The first one is, I hate people who fucking try to get deals. You know,
it's rampant though in stores.
You know what? You know, if you don't trust the store to price the animal at a fair price for them, why are you shopping there? You know, I never ask for a deal. I'm always happy when somebody gives me one, but I never, you know, unless I'm like brokering an order or whatever, you know, I don't even think if I've ever asked for a deal then. I always just say, what's the price? Okay, I'll pay that, or I can't afford that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the answer. If why are you going to a crappy store that you know is bad anyway, so you can make a deal? And if you think it's a good store and they're ethical and they're moral and they're doing a nice job and they're treating people well and treating the animals well, why are you trying to take money out of their pocket? It makes me crazy.
Real quick,
as a person, it makes me crazy.
Yeah. Real quick, I had a friend that opened a restaurant, and me and some other buddies went in there, and he himself was trying to tell me, oh, I'll get you some stuff on the cheap. Well, when the bill came, I paid him full price, and he came up, he's like, what'd you do that for? Because I was going to give you like a discount. And I was like, I'm your friend. And if I'm supporting you, I'm not trying to feed off you. Why would a friend do that? Or even if we weren't friends, if I liked the person and I liked the restaurant, I'm not asking you, how can I get a discount? If these people can't feed their family and pay their bills, they're not there to enjoy.
Right.
Why do I want to? To me, it feels like being like a leech or a tick. Like, how is that helping? Oh, I like that restaurant. Oh, and I know the owner. I can get a discount. Watch. You're taking from them.
Right. Right. Now, if they want to offer it to you, sweet, right? But if somebody had a new store or a new restaurant, I wouldn't want a deal from them then. I want them to have as much of my money as they can so they survive. So later on, they're there, they're doing really well, and then they can afford to give me a break or give everybody a break or lower their prices. But at startup, no way, man. I guess it's kind of the same thing, right? If do your diligence on the store, and if you trust them and you don't think they're ripping you off, just give them what they ask, right?
There is a weird human thing that I've noticed like I've worked in 5 different retail stores in Texas. And there is a weird thing, because I'll tell you this too, at least from my little snapshot of places that I've worked, is fish store owners are not always, they're not there because they're like excellent business people. You know what I mean? And I've seen store owners, it's that thing where someone, hey, I bought this, this, and this. Could I get a discount on this? You know, and that sort of thing. They want to be your friend. They want to give you the deal. They want to make people happy, you know, but the frustrating thing is they could be like, I've worked for people who were still giving people deals when they were like bouncing checks to me for my paycheck.
You end up rewarding the assholes who come in and ask for a deal, and punishing your good customers who keep coming back time and time again and recommend you other places. Why?
And harming your good employees by bouncing their checks.
Oh my God.
It's bad.
Yeah. It's not just this, by the way. There's a kite place that, you know, you buy it from them and then you find out that you can get it somewhere else cheaper and faster, and they're not actually giving you any added benefit. So it's like, why am I buying? You've got to be giving me something to make me want to give you the extra money. Now, the internet, to your point, has made it hard, right? And so you do, I think, have to be ready to explain why a quarantine or observed or conditioned fish, why you should get more money for that. And I think that's fine. I think that is fair. But that's not a hard thing to understand. It does get me back to what we were talking about forms and about, you know, repeating this stuff. We have this idea, or I had this idea, that if you write an article on it or a book on it, it's kind of there and everyone can reference it. But that's not what happens, right? We've been having this discussion about paying for conditioned animals and not bag lot sale animals, and why you should support people who are conditioning your fish for you or your animals for you since my first aquarium job was 1983, right? So I've been having this discussion since then. We all know it. It's not like it hasn't been covered 1,000 times, but it has to be covered 1,000,000 times. You have to have that conversation without getting grumpy about it with your customer as many times as you have to, right? And I think the thing is the thing, you know, why you get worried about it is because they might say no, or, you know, I guess you've got to be strong enough to go, no, I'm offering you this, and this is what it costs, and this is why I think we should do it. And if you do it this other way, here's all the risks that we're having that may come around to bite you in the butt and make it way more expensive in the long term. Yeah. And I would say, what you want to do. It's your money.
And never be rude to any people coming into your store or potential clients, right? There's no reason to be rude to anyone, but you can cut ties with people without being rude. But that's what I'm saying. If you identify a store customer or a maintenance client or whatever as sort of leeching off you and, you know, always trying to look for deals, that you can, I suggest cut ties with them, because that just it's more of a headache than, you know, and you, like I said, you can do it without being rude. Just, always put up a brick wall on that client that comes into your store that's always asking for a discount. Okay, if they buy like $1,000 worth of stuff at a pop, figure something out. But you're just talking about a person buying a couple things at a discount and comes in once a month, just stonewall them, and
Yeah, and
hopefully they go somewhere else.
And with livestock, it's even worse, right? So if you can get an economy of scale, you get deals when you purchase your animals, right? As a provider, as a vendor, which is what you are, right? So that's why you want the bigger order, because then you save on shipping and you save on packing, you save on all kinds of stuff. But you are taking a risk at having more of these animals at the same time that you have to deal with. And a place that drop ships, which is what a lot of the online retailers do, they don't even have the animal on site. They just have an importer or a wholesaler drop ship it right to the client. So it's like
they don't touch anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just straight business deal. That's like buying from Amazon. It's fine, but you are definitely not getting the support you get from getting it from a local store.
I mean, that's why I was a little shocked. I'll even say there's no reason why I can't. I'll say the name. Like I was looking at my wholesale list for Quality Marine. And then I looked at his link from liveaquaria.com. It was the same animal at the same price.
Yeah, it's getting drop shipped, right?
Yeah.
You can see if it says our California facility at Diver's Den, where it comes from, right?
Yeah.
And the reason they can do that is because the economy of scale that DD does is big, so they can sell it. They're not paying what you're paying for at wholesale, right? And that's pissed off stores in the past. Why should the online retailer get a discount? Now, I guess in that case, there are reasons, right? Because then they're shipping more often, they're shipping more animals. It's the same economy of scale. But it's, man, oh man, why punish your good customers who, come to you all the time? It just, the worst thing in a store is when you're standing there and you're about to buy something and the person in front of you asks for a discount and they get it. And then you get up to the counter and you're like, then you feel like you have to ask for it too.
Yeah.
Why should some people get a discount and other people not get a discount? But if that is, have a policy about how the discounts happen, right? Take control of it. If you're a store, you could have, that's why you get those stupid coffee cards. Buy 10 coffees, you get one free. Buy 10 fish, you get 25% off the next one. And something like that. Then everyone feels good about getting a deal.
Working in stores scared me so away from ever thinking about, should I do maintenance on my own like I do, or should I open up a store? And what scares me about ever running a store, first of all, competing with the internet and then competing with the store down the street. But the scariest thing to me is the employees. Because I'm saying if you're an owner and if you're not around, their buddies come in, they give discounts. It's not their store. They don't, have that connection to it. There's, I hate to say it, but stealing from the till, even they steal an animal, or a buddy of theirs comes in, or a girl they like, or a boy they like. I've seen all these scenarios.
Once at a store, I went in the store, I needed some shrimp to feed some cuddles, right? This was a long time ago. And it was one of the employees at the store. It's a big store locally. And the guy knew who I was, and because he had read some stuff I'd done or seen a talk. And so he was like, oh yeah. So he put a whole bunch of extra shrimp in the thing. And I went, that's a lot of shrimp, man. And he went, no, it'll be cool. It's no problem. I went, that's a lot of shrimp. And he was and I don't want to argue with people. We get up to the thing and the owner goes, that is not $2 worth of shrimp. And I went, I didn't even look, man.
Put him in there.
Now I'm in this terrible position where, I got to talk. The owner's looking at me like I'm trying to rip him off. And and it's like, oh shit, what a horrible, just, man, don't try to do things on the sly.
That's it. Again, that doesn't have anything to do with our industry. That is another human thing where this person may have got starstruck and they're just like, oh, I want you to be my friend or think I'm cool. Here's, I'm overdoing it for you. And it's like, I don't think you're doing you a favor. You're not doing the store owner a favor. And you're not necessarily doing me a favor. I just wanted 2 dozen ghost shrimp. I don't know what I'm going to do with 48 of them. It's just, I asked you for 24. That's fine, man. I appreciate that you think highly of me, but make your money.
You do 24, put 30 in, just like crickets, put some extra because they're cheap,
Yeah.
small, whatever. That's fine. But man, because the other side, it's like, I'm going to count out, I want 100 crickets and I'm going to count 100.
Oh.
Just don't, dude, no one's got time for anybody to count 100 crickets. If your crickets are where your margin is, you're doing something wrong. It's just, so.
This is a weird phenomenon because from having worked at stores for so long, it's all the feeder things that blew my mind. So when I moved here to Houston, the store that I worked at was owned by a Vietnamese guy that was in the Vietnam War, and he came over and opened the store after the Vietnam War was over. And man, this guy, Mike Nguyen, Min Kong Nguyen, he was so good at counting things fast, and it blew my mind. But and a lot of people know this phenomenon. If you see 100 people out in a field, it does not look like 100 people. If you see 30 feeder goldfish in a bag, that does not look like 30 goldfish in a bag. It's the weirdest thing. But if we would, if we'd get tired at the end of the day, someone came in to get, they wanted like 4 dozen feeder goldfish. We're just like grabbing the net and doing that, bring it up to the counter. And Mike was like, hey, that's not 3 dozen, dude. And we're like, what? I swear it is. He's like, no. And he would sit there sometimes, and the customer would be like, come on, man. But Mike would sit there and count them out, and then the customer would go, that's not 30. And Mike's like, I promise you, I just counted them. That's 30.
Right.
And I go, okay. And it's like, yeah, sorry, I've been heavy handed. We
used to do crickets by volume.
Yeah. You did like sort of pre-measure, like about 15.
No, we had a tube with a what are those, a funnel on the top.
Yeah.
You'd scoop the crickets and it was graded, and you'd go, okay, that's 3 dozen crickets.
Yeah.
And it was weighted so there's a few extra. But the time that saved us.
Oh yeah.
Would you rather, what was I making at the time? 95 cents an hour anyway. Would you rather have me mopping or helping another customer or counting out 28 crickets?
Well, in tradition, I don't know how many other stores did this, but every store I worked at, feeder animals are somewhat of either a loss leader or you're breaking even. You're not making much money on blackworms or crickets or pinkies or goldfish or rosies. It's not a big money maker. You're bringing people in the store for all the peripheral stuff they'll buy. But you
are making money on fish, because fish cost money and cost you time and effort and space and resources, which all equates to money. If you are able to wholesale a fish for $250, keep it for a month, and all you add is another $250 on top of it, that's too cheap. That's too cheap in my mind.
And here's a point I wanted to make, which is very true. So say I get in that $250 fish and I am watching it for 1 month. What if it dies in that month? I don't bill my client. I just eat that. And that is part of the risk that I want some money for.
Right.
Because if it dies in my care before I get it to your house, I am straight up eating that.
Yeah. It was the same problem I had, when I bred cuddles and was trying to sell them, because people said they wanted to buy them. And they would say, how much is a cuddle? I was like, $80. They're like, $80. I'm like, $80. I had to feed all these cuddles. I had to take care of them for 4 months to get them to this size. I lose a bunch of them, but that's what it costs. I could sell like 5 of them, and then I just never did it for sale again, because it was like, nobody wants to pay what it actually costs. That's changing now somewhat, right? With many things being bred, which I think is great. But I think the same applies to wild caught animals, man. Pay what they're worth. Pay what they're
I just had a strange thought. This might not make sense at first, but how this parallels to, I think of like that, like the Christmas story about like Mr. Scrooge and how he doesn't get it until these like three ghosts like put him in someone else's shoes and sort of force him to see this other ways of life that there are. So what I'm saying is, you know, people like $80, but if I could take you in like those ghosts of Christmas past, whatever, and show you, you know, and make you do it, this is what it took. Like, you're going to be like, well, $80, man, you should be asking $120. That was a nightmare.
Little pause. Baba Booey.
Hey, beefers, it's the summer. And so, you know, things get a little weird in the summer. People start doing kind of stuff. And the Discord pub is still moving on. It's still got a lot of action, and boy, do we dig it. We want to thank all the members for the member discussions about the future of the Discord and how we work through any community does anything, you know, communities change over time. And I think we still have a really good group and we're figuring stuff out, and I dig it. And thank you for being part. I want to thank you for letting us be ourselves again. And yeah, and Ben's just deep throating a microphone, so
I didn't know what else to say.
that's what we think.
I didn't know what else to say.
Yeah, we've heard loud and clear. We like the pub mentality, so that's what we're shooting for. So we dig it, and we thank you. If you've listened this far into the podcast, you might as well go take a look at our membership. I mean, yeah, if you've gone this far, you buy us a copy and become a member, and see what that's like and see what happens on the membership side. There's a public side and a membership side of the Discord. Ben and I spend maybe more time on the membership side, and there's secret things there.
Foot
The
rubs.
What? Fuck rooms?
Foot rubs.
Foot rubs
are in there somewhere.
That's very different than fuck rooms. I'm gearing up for the Acro Spawning for this year, so all of that you'll get updates on that, and you'll even get live streams of when the spawning happens. You can hear all the backdoor loving Ben gives to his clients. And other stuff too. We've got members have got some build threads, and you know, Jason does some stuff about books, and Alex G with his incredible
4,000
system that he's
gallon?
putting. It's like 1 million gallons.
Yes.
And then we also have these tank tours that were organized by members that happen on Wednesday nights, which are just kind of awesome. So we want to thank you all and hope more of you become part of it, because it's a cool place to hang out.
Little pause. Baba Booey.
Are we ready to kind of transition? I've got a great transition.
Absolutely.
The transition is go to the Discord in the members section and look on the Acro Spawning project and see what it took to get the corals to the size that I'm about to show you now.
Yeah.
Because another thing I did yesterday was pull out my bandsaw and cut up my babies. Cut up all the baby corals, right? Because there was multiples of them would settle on the same frag plug, and they don't necessarily get along. They fight, and you could totally see them fighting. So I finally decided it was time to cut them all up. And man, a new bandsaw blade on ceramic discs, it's freaking awesome.
Oh, nice.
It's
Like
awesome.
butter? Like butter?
Butter. It's like, oh, I could easily cut, you know, it was like, oh, there's no problem here. You know, I was worried about hurting them, and some of them are small. Let me share the screen again, and I'll show you this video. So so you can see all these blue tubes sticking up, right?
Yeah.
So for the longest time, it was all of my babies were on, almost all of them were on this one section of blue tubes. It's one like 10 blue tubes, right?
Yeah.
So I cut them all up, and now they're much more than that because they're separated. Play there,
Okay.
right? So you see
Separate
the little,
yet equal.
you see all the pie pieces.
Yeah, some of them look like cake.
Some of them is teeny, some of them is big.
Oh, wow.
And there's some that are growing over here that I put frag plugs near, so they will eventually grow up.
Okay, so
on them.
that's a lot more than I thought you had, Richard.
Yeah, well, it turns out now that I've got about 40 individuals, which
Okay.
you couldn't tell before. It looked like I had about 12 individuals.
Yeah.
So I got 40 individuals, and they'll grow out, and we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
So that's been something I've been putting off as well. So clearly I'm in a phase where it's like, let's get some stuff done.
No, that's good.
And
Productive phase.
boy, it was really fun to cut them up, and they're all looking good. So I think they'll grow
Awesome.
better now. I've got one beef,
Do your beef.
and then we
Yeah.
get out of here. Which is that the ocean is on fire.
Yeah, that's sad.
Sad
Sad but true.
The temperatures around the Florida Keys have spiked, and they've spiked early. They usually don't get to the 85s until September, October, until late in the month. And yeah, I'm 62% right about that. It might be mid-August that they get hot. But all month they've been hot. They've been like 90, 95.
When there's an article going around, I wasn't sure if it was embellished or if it's, but it was saying a buoy recorded like a surface temperature of like 101 degrees Fahrenheit.
101. That's in an enclosed area at 5 feet down. That's a ridiculous number, by the way, to have in an ocean environment. The ones to look at, if people want to be weird about that number, there's other buoys where it's been 95, 98, for weeks. And so in some of the areas, their corals are the endangered Acropora palmata or Acropora cervicornis. They're just dying. They're not even bleaching. Their tissue is evaporating. And that's bad. And it's definitely the heat. And some of them are being rescued. People are going out, grabbing these corals that were thought to be, are some of the only genotypes left out in the wild, collecting them and bringing them into aquaria to keep them.
Now, should we say, please don't do that if you're in Florida and you're not like a scientist?
Yeah, you're breaking federal law if you do that.
Yeah.
There are good reasons for, I don't want to get into that argument about why it's a bad idea for endangered and really endangered species to be collected by people in the trade. But it's not good. A lot of some of the coral restoration sites, which they've been working on for a long time, just evaporated. The corals just are gone. There's a time-lapse video of 3 months where you see the cervicornis grow, and then turn white.
But this makes me sad because you hear, in the past, you hear like, I don't know what all the big hubbub is. Look, they're there and they're growing. But I just always felt like this was gonna happen. What I mean?
But it's been happening.
Like you've seen about the Great Barrier Reef, you've seen, after those giant bleachings. And then I saw some people like, hey, the biodiversity's coming back. And these coral, you guys are over dramatizing this. These things are coming back and everything is going to be okay. And it's like, I'm not trying to be a naysayer, but I'm just saying, I don't think so, man.
Yeah. And it's tough because, I know one researcher who was on a show and they mentioned climate change, and then all they got for the next 4 or 5 days was reamed for talking about believing in climate change. By the way, the Great Barrier Reef, we've covered it before. There is in one section of it, it is high coral cover, but it's all weedy corals. It's all the acros that have grown like crazy doing what they're supposed to do. The biodiversity is not up. And in the Great Barrier Reef, man, if it gets hot there, all we need is one more hot year, which could be this year. But what the beef is, it's a bunch of beefs. It's people going, oh my God, it is hot. Why didn't we know this was coming? It's like, this has been predicted for 30 years, 40 years, that as the temperature goes up, weird things are going to happen and bad things are going to happen.
But humans are so reactionary.
I just have a real issue and don't understand why people whose speciality is to keep these animals alive in glass boxes can't understand what the problem is, or that they'll do such weird contortions. The one of the favorite arguments, and we won't go too deep into this because it's depressing and meh, but it's like, well, the world is always changing. The climate is always changing. And it's like, yeah, not this quick, not that fast. Well, millions of years ago, there was more CO2 in the air and it was hotter. And yeah, there were no people and there were no corals. So I don't understand what your point is. If your point is that we all might die and the world will be unrecognizable to us in the next 200 years, well, yay, pat yourself on the back. I hope your kids have a nice time. It's such a weird argument to me that yeah, oh yeah, we're all just temporary anyway. So, and then the other one that makes me crazy is that this one way to try to address the heat problem comes with its own problems as well. And it's like, yeah, we know that. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the better. If we knew how to do it perfectly, we would have fixed everything already. But we don't. So all we can do, just like in our tanks, is keep stumbling forward, hoping that we get a grip on what we're doing so we can make it better long term. I just get fucking confused with people who will read an ICP test for vanadium down to the third decimal plate, but somehow they don't understand that the temperature going up to 98 degrees might be bad long term. It just blows my mind. And there.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm a ecologist or any of this stuff, but and I've heard some arguments and people say like we will move, we will follow the weather patterns, in places that used to be cold will be warmer, like we'll find a way. But I guess the thing I'm sort of worried about, and like I said, I'm not an ecologist or whatnot, so I don't know the answer to these or think I know the answer to this thing, but it feels like we could be flirting with something that shakes the whole food web, and we're not moving around to different clients. We're dying because phytoplankton dies, or the rainforest dies, or the ocean currents stop and reverse themselves. I mean, that's where it gets depressing, because it's talking about wholesale death of creatures on planet Earth. And we're worried about our stocks and bonds and what country dominates the world and so on and so forth. But we're going to be clutching our pearls until we're going underwater, I guess.
We can do all of it if we just kind of stop being dumb. Oh God, I can see the YouTube comments now. I saw this one weird comment, and then I'll let you finish out this section. They were talking about the Deepwater Horizon spill, and they said something like, oh, that's all we heard about. What a big deal what that was. What a big deal. And now nobody even talks about it. It doesn't even matter anymore. And it's like, no, it really still matters. We are really still dealing with what happened. The food web got raked there, and we don't even know really how bad it might be. Just because we're not talking about it.
No, I just recently listened to that podcast Science Friday.
Yeah,
I still heard mention of Deepwater Horizon, because they did a recent study and it affected birth rate and birth weight and birth numbers of cetaceans in the Gulf of Mexico. The information is out there, and the fact that you're not seeing it or looking for it doesn't mean it's not there.
Right. And you shouldn't look for it. It's not your job. Why? You're not expert in everything. Let the experts. I mean, we should all be skeptical of stuff, but
this is a problem that no one has any answers for, but it's like we're flailing as the house is burning down. But anyways, so that is our show, and we really, really appreciate you watching or listening to this, even the sad end there. But anyways, we really appreciate you watching this. If you like more of this, please feel free to go back and watch older episodes. We are on Discord, so find us there. Go to our website at Reef Beef Podcast, and you'll find we have like membership levels there where you can see like different parts of Discord that are only open to members. Go check us out on there. And we do want to thank saltwateraquarium.com. We want to thank PolypLab, and we want to thank Champion Lighting and Supply for supporting this Reef Beef.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I want to thank Snowman for doing all of the editing and processing of all of the shows. snowman can never get enough love from us. So
People get
since-
excited about Richard and I, but to be honest with you, if there was no snowman, none of this would exist.
Oh,
Keep
God.
your hands wet and your tank dry. No, that doesn't make sense.
We'll see you next time.
No, keep your pants on and your
No, that's for the show. This was for an ad.
oh.
Keep your pants on and your hands lubed. You do what? Let's do back and forth real quick. Do like 3 or 4 of them.
Like
You just start talking, man.
I know, but now I'm on the spot.
No, you're
Keep
not.
your-
You just start talking.
Keep your lawn mowed and your waters changed.
And until next time, remember, feet are on the bottom of your legs.
And until next time, just remember that our membership has foot rubs in it somewhere.
And until next time, suck a duck.
Whoa, a duck?
Why
Or a penile pro projection?
All right, man. Go beat up your children.
I think a couple of them are dead. We'll figure that out.
Well, then your life just got a lot easier.
Exactly.
And you
And
got
my carbon
way-
footprint is less.
Yeah, and you've got way more disposable income.
Nice, dude. I'm liking the sound of this.
Well, I have a list. I want to do song lyrics at the end.
Okay. For blooper
like-
stuff.
And until next time, have a holiday in Cambodia.
Holiday in Cambodia. I
Um,
love the Dead Kennedys.
They were good song quotes. Maybe I'll do that.
Hey, wouldn't Johnny Lydon the lead singer of PIO?
Yeah, and fucking
Sex Pistols.
yeah.
I don't know why I led with PIL. It's just that I listened to PIL so much.
They got a new album.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Isn't he half alive?
Yeah. His partner also died recently.
Oh,
And she was
sorry,
she was
Johnny.
losing her mind. I mean, he was like the primary caregiver.
Oh, wow.
So it was actually pretty amazing what he did, but he's probably really pissed off now. So maybe
Yeah.
it'll be good music, or maybe it'll just be, I'm making money from punk rock when punk rock should have been dead, after 3 years.
know.
So,
It not that I would make a call over Johnny Lydon, but I'm just saying that, like, it's sort of unpunk rock.
it's so not punk rock. It's called Sellout. But
Yes.
that's what punk rock is so fucked up because of that. It's great.
Yeah.
Burn it to the ground, Ben.
Burn it to the ground. Okay, son. The
Shut
stuff
up,
is
Grant.
out there. Grant, you're tripping over the cord, brother.
I'm gonna beat your
Go.